last time I brought in the Shozi Hibiki SE, an example of something that hasn't aged well over the years. But here is perhaps something that has aged well with time. Today, we'll be looking at the iBasso IT01, a titan of the old chi-fi world and loved for its bang for buck appeal, and an earphone which I think is still worthy of your attention in 2021. With that, let's get into a review of the iBasso IT01. We got a whitish outer sleeve with what was at the time some very clean looking design actually, and of course some marketing blurbs in the back as usual. Sliding out the outer sleeve, we get this very nice looking inner box. It's got like this fake leather look, and it's in a sort of navy blue color with an engraved iBasso audio logo in the front. Opening the flaps, you see these, this foam insert with the iBasso IT01s here, and of course your case. This little compartment here, what's inside this one? Inside it you have your warranty card, a guide on how to disconnect the MMCX connector, and a very nice looking, very thick sort of instruction manual in both English and I think Chinese. So very nice and premium feeling. And yeah, this ain't your usual just flimsy carrying pouch, but an actual hard case. I think it's made of metal, or at least plastic that looks like metal. It has a cylindrical design. You twist it to open it, and yeah, it's way better than the flippy pouches that I often see with other earphones. In the case you will find your cable, an assortment of a large variety of tips, including even some foamies, and a set of these spare removable filters. These filters, you basically screw them into the nozzle of the IT01. There's no sound dampening or anything like that. It's basically just spare filters to replace for your dusty ones, I guess. Although you're free to mod them by stuffing foam into it or something. I think I remember a lot of people doing that back when the IT01 was new. Now that is what I call a good unboxing experience. For the price of a Benjamin, you got your IT01 in a nice looking box, supplied with a hard case, a ton of tips even with foamies, and even some spare filters. Even many brands nowadays, they still just give like a pouch and some tips. So safe to say, iBasso's accessory game is still tight. Aesthetically, the IT01's cable is only alright. The braid on the cable is, it looks a little loose and uneven compared to others, but it doesn't tangle, it wraps well, it's not too microphonic, and it doesn't harm the IT01 sonic performance, so no problems here. And I actually do like the brushed metal on the jack part as well as the Y connector. It's really nice looking. And we also put a Velcro wrap on here, so when you want to tuck the cable in, you can use this to wrap it. The let me see, the connectors. These connectors are, yes, they are MMCX. There's a little red and blue dot for you to recognize the left and right side. But the thing is, this is iBasso's proprietary MMCX. They say it's proprietary, but actually, the IT01 itself is compatible with your normal MMCX connectors. But the MMCX connectors of the iBasso, it's like the best implementation of MMCX I've seen. Like, these connectors, when you plug them into the IT01, it doesn't expose the connector bits. They can spin, but the spin is relatively tight, so it doesn't, like shift around when you wear it on your ear. And when you want to remove it, you just sort of wedge your nails into the connection, and with a little force, you can just disconnect. It's very easy. I still dislike MOCX connectors, but this is probably the best MOCX implementation I've seen. Props and kudos to iBasso. And here are the iBasso IT01s themselves. It is sort of this, semi-custom in-ear design that you've seen nowadays, but it's made of plastic. It's this sort of black glossy plastic, and well, it looks cool, but it's gonna scratch real quick. However, it is very classy and minimalistic, and I like that. Of course, you've got this very wide nozzle with the removable filter, as well as the MCX connector here. But overall, it's a really classy looking design. It's small, it's light, and it's comfortable to wear in your ear. Not as comfortable as the Shozi Hibiki SE, but it's, it's alright. I really like it. I like this look. So in terms of source matching, I really do prefer the DX150 for the IT01. I guess they're the same iBasso brand, so they did try to make it play well with each other, I guess. The DX150, it brings out the bass of the IT01 a bit more than the LGV20, and it smooths out some of the more coarseness of the IT01's sound. The IT01, it does sound generally nice out of most sources though, so even the LGV20, it sounds alright actually. I just happen to prefer the DX150 over it, but to be fair, it's pretty close. And for tip rolling, out of all the tips that the iBasso IT01 gives you, I still find that the standard medium-sized whiteboard tips to be the best for me. They don't affect sound in a negative way, and they are comfortable in my ears. A close second would probably be the foamies they give. It's a little harder than your Comfly foams, but it's also a lot more comfortable and durable, and they work about as well in terms of isolation. They're also, quite versatile to use for other tips as well, for other earphones as well, if you don't want to just use them on your IT01. So, good value. And with that, alright, let's get to the part you'll want, the sound of the iBasso IT01. So the IT01 has what you would call a W-shaped sound, or I guess you could say a V-shaped sound with less compromises. That is because there's a bump in both the bass, mids, and highs. So starting with the bass then, it's a very powerful performance. The IT01 has a slam and some rumble under its belt, though I guess it has more of an emphasis on mid-bass than sub-bass. Not only that, there is a decent amount of bass detail that actually keeps up with other IEMs at the same price tag nowadays, so it has held up quite well over time. Having said that, it is not without weakness. There is, because of the more powerful bass, there is a bit of a bass bleed, and the texture of the IT01's bass, it can be a little blotchy sometimes. Otherwise though, quite competent for what it is. And thanks to the W-shaped tuning, you're actually getting some forward-ish mids instead of the recessed ones on a typical V-shaped set. Whilst the IT01's mid emphasis, it doesn't directly hit the vocals, it does somewhat benefit it. And these mids, they also make synths or like guitars and electronic instruments very detailed and present in the mix. I feel though that this is somewhat of a double-edged knife, because the mid emphasis, it makes for a very sharp presentation, and while it is a delight for EDM listeners, but for those who want something a little more balanced, or something that works with lighter music, these mids can sound quite bloated and a little scratchy. For electronic music though, the bass coupled with these mids make the IT01 sound great. The highs of the IT01 are very sparkly indeed. The treble can be a bit sharp, and it's also a little dry, but it's made up with the mids and the lows. Again, very nice for electronic music, but it can be sizzly and with slight graininess. This is probably the IT01's weakest link, but I mean for the weakest link of the chain, it is still a pretty good weak link. You would think, though, that a treble bump would give the IT01 much air, but not really. Instead, it makes stuff like cymbals and hi-hats very crispy. Yeah, crispy is how I would describe it. As with many other Chi-Fi sets, the iBasso IT01 soundstage is average, maybe just above average, but not much to talk about here. However, its technicalities are quite impressive. This thing came out back in like 2016, and for what it was, it really did punch above its weight in terms of separation and resolution. So much so that now, even in 2021, it can actually still hold its own against newer stuff in the same price range. Its imaging is less impressive, not bad, but it can be a little messy here and there. There's also the fact that distortion is also a bit of a problem, making the mids and highs sound somewhat brittle at louder volumes. But again, for a 4 or 5 something year old set, this is still very good. Usually, when comparing a Moondrop set to other Chi-Fi sets, I tend to notice just how inconsistent the tuning of the Chi-Fi set can be compared to the Moondrop. Not here though. The IT01 doesn't have many weird resonance peaks, and the vocals on it, it can sometimes be thin, but still quite competent. Whereas the Aria's bass can get a little sloppy at times, the IT01 is a lot more concise, while still retaining the energy of the song. And for electronic music, again, the IT01 is gonna be my pick over the Moondrop Aria. Whereas where the Aria tries to make a more casual sort of harmon tuning, the IT01 fully leans into this very vivid and fun tuning, which, although it can get fatiguing, is also a lot more lively than the Aria. The KZ ZS6 is yet another popular Chi-Fi set released at roughly the same time as the IT01, and yet listening between the iBasso and the KZ, you can hear a definite tuning difference, especially the mid suck out on the ZS6. I will say though, that the ZS6 lives up to its rumor of being a treble cannon. But although it can often become sibilant, the sibilance of the ZS6 is somehow more bearable and clean than the IT01s. But both the IT01 and the ZS6 are supremely enjoyable for listening to EDM. And whilst the ZS6 has a wider soundstage because it was sort of semi-open, the IT01 beats out the KZ by actually having some mids presence in there. Hence why I say W-shaped tuning is just kind of better V-shaped tuning, because you get the same fun factor, but less recessed mids. Well, after all that, I can say that the iBasso IT01 is still a worthy buy, even in 2021. My 2 reasons for this being that, 1, you get a bunch of accessories with it, so even if you're a first-time buyer and you pick something like this up, you've got everything you need to get started. And secondly, the IT01's sonic capabilities, I think, still keeps up, even matches or wins over modern offerings. I think iBasso actually agrees with me here, because they basically took an IT01, stripped down its accessories, gave it a more basic housing and a cable, and sold it at a discount. And that's the IT00, IT00. So, if you like the fun tuning of a KZ, and you listen to a lot of electronic music, and think that, just some more mids in there would have been perfect, I can still say that the IT01 continues to be a solid choice, and if you can pick it up for a lower price nowadays, even better. Alright, we've reached the end of this review. As always, I will leave the songs that I used in the description of the video, There will also be a link to the website, my website, where you can look at some other written reviews of IMs. You can look at some of my old art projects. There's also going to be an about section where you can find ways to donate me. I also have a Patreon now, so if you do really like what you're seeing, you can donate to me there and support me. For now, it's mostly just for donation purposes, but I will get to adding some more rewards to it after a while. But otherwise, like the video, you like it, subscribe if you want to see more. If you have any suggestions, feel free to put it in the comments. And if nothing else, thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.